The Wizardry franchise is one of the founding pillars of the dungeon crawling RPG genre. Since its debut in 1981, it's been known for its brutal difficulty, dark atmosphere, and intense dungeon dives, with permadeath mechanics wiping out hours of progress. It's a series that's been testing players' limits for decades. And now we have Wizardry Variants Daphne, a new spin-off in the franchise that brings gacha elements into the classic Wizardry gameplay. I've been playing this game for a week now, and let me tell you, it does not mess around. There's no honeymoon phase here. The moment you enter the dungeon, every decision matters. One wrong move, you and your party gone. Even the weakest creatures can wipe out your entire team. In some cases, it's so brutal, you might have to start the whole game over. As for me, this is how I spent a week just trying to make progress in one of the most hardcore gacha games I've ever played. Welcome to Wiz Daphne. Let's quickly cover the gameplay and combat mechanics. This game is a dungeon crawler where you lead a party of 6 adventurers, each with a different class: knight, thief, fighter, mage, or priest. You position each character strategically. Melee fighters go in the front row, while healers and ranged characters stay protected in the rear. Each character has skills and spells to develop as they level up. There's also the usual type system: fire beats wind, wind beats earth, etc. While exploring, you'll encounter enemies shown as silhouettes, and how you approach them is definitely important. If they catch you from behind, you're more likely to get ambushed. Combat is turn-based and driven by each character's speed stat, which affects their action speed, and that determines the attack order. For example, if your main character has the highest action speed, they'll get the first turn, but if you're ambushed, the enemy attacks first, regardless of action speed, and then the fight proceeds normally. The game is very hardcore. Make sure to not get ambushed. The game throws you right into the action. You spawn deep in a dungeon only to be wiped out immediately by a gargoyle. That's ridiculously overpowered. Just like that, I'd already died once. After that initial death, I'm reborn, not as a human, but as a ghoul with no memory of who I used to be. Aimlessly wandering the dungeon, I encounter a mysterious ghostly woman named Lulinarde. She's surprised I can see her and takes an unusual interest in me. Promises to lead me to the exit, so I followed. That's when I discovered I had obtained a strange power. I could regenerate and repair damaged armor and weapons. They weren't exactly high quality, but good enough to survive for now. As I fought my way out, I faced monsters, claimed their loot, and eventually found the exit. And upon escaping the dungeon, I encountered humans for the first time. I killed them, not because I was a ghoul, but because they were bandits, taking a mask of theirs to hide my monster's face to avoid suspicion before making my way to the nearest city. As fate would have it, my arrival coincided with a public execution. It was then I learned that the king himself had been taken, imprisoned within the very dungeon from which I emerged. The beginning abyss. Only he had the power to seal these dangerous dungeons, and with his absence, the people were restless. Soon, a rescue mission was announced, and knights, mercenaries, and adventurers from all over gathered. So I joined them, eager to find out about the secrets of the abyss, and perhaps more about myself. At the Adventurers Guild, I met the captain of the order, Dylanhard. He informed me that the king had been captured by a powerful creature, the very boss of the dungeon. With some coin for supplies, I was ready to begin, and that's when I realized just how powerful my resurrection ability could be. Not only could I fix weapons, I could fix dead people too, because might as well. And you guessed it, it's the gacha mechanic. I started resurrecting bones of various adventurers who had fallen in the dungeon. They came in 3 grades: legendary adventurers, the most powerful and infamous during their lifetimes. They possess unique and powerful abilities. General adventurers who still reach the lower floors, and in the right situation, they could be just as strong as the legendary ones. And lastly, the anonymous adventurers, who perished probably not too soon after they entered, but I would use them for a different purpose, to make a lot of money later on. As a reward given to me after accepting the quest, I was given the remains of a legendary adventurer, and that's how I revived the Ekaterina, a dark mage accompanied by a skeleton known only as a doctor. She would become the pillar of our party because of her overpowered skills and talents. There were others as well, and after carefully picking the ones who seemed useful, the party was officially formed. Its members are the priest Danton, a healer. His main stats are piety, which ties directly to the power of his healing spells, and his vitality, which affects his HP, so he could survive long enough to keep the heals coming. Neon, a thief. The main stats I was looking for here were speed and dexterity, which he was very good at both. She can check for traps as well as disarming them and opening chests we may find. Then there is the Night Dark, our tankiest member, although he must have died a horrible death because good lord, he looks a bit weird. But what he lacks in appearance, he makes up with his excellent stats in both strength and vitality, making him an ideal tank. Also the Fighter Lane, picked for her incredible strength. And finally Katrina, the main damage dealer of the party. With potions packed and my party ready, we set out on our first expedition. We took each step carefully, avoiding unnecessary fights. We managed to handle goblins and bandits, but when the ogres appeared, things took a turn. These abominations could practically one-shot our tank, Dark, even when he was blocking with his shield. These encounters were not easy, and resources and heals were running low as we journeyed further. A battle against ogres led to the death of Ghislaine, our main fighter, but thankfully my resurrection ability saved her, bringing her back to continue the fight, so we managed to survive. The party members were getting tired as Danton and Katrina, our priest and mage, had no more mana. It was time to retreat and restock on supplies. Luckily, I found a beacon that allowed us to return to the city. It was a relief, but we'd only scratched the surface of the dungeon. A lot of progress was done, but nowhere nearly enough. Upon our arrival, I met a shady merchant who claimed he could sell me the remains of a legendary adventurer for a measly 100 gold. I took him up on the offer, and that's how Amira joined us, a knight capable of healing her allies. The next day was surprisingly lucky. I used the gems that gathered to purchase more bones, and apparently choosing Amira last night might have been the worst choice to make. Since I got another legendary knight, Gerard, I ended up picking him for now, since he's a knight so he can tank, but also had amazing DPS potential. Alongside him, I summoned Alice, a legendary priestess that gives powerful buffs and debuffs. She replaced Danton as the main healer. Also, by politely taking the gear from the anonymous adventurers who were pretty much useless to us and selling it made us huge profits. By then everyone reached level 3, so we dove deeper inside the dungeon and met a warped one, a direct minion of the boss we're looking for. It was quite stronger than other enemies of its level, but after defeating it we finally got to the entrance of the second floor. There we find a strange woman in the dungeon who respawned every time we defeated her. I took advantage of this and killed her repeatedly until all members run out of mana, then restocked and came back to kill her some more. Repeat this cycle a few times and our party members have all reached level 9 and even gained new skills. Before calling it a day, I did one last summon and somehow got yet another legendary knight. Now I had 3 of them, but no clear choice on who to choose. For now, Gerard stayed in the main party while the others trained on dispatch missions to level up on their own. Today was very eventful. I did daily requests given to me by the guild and progressed through the dungeon where we found enemies guarding a door. They were warped ones. The knights fought one while we took out the other. He looked horrifying and also very tanky, but nothing our party can't handle. Behind that door was a Harken, so we rest there. We get some more behind some of the knights and onward to the next floor. Here things took a dark turn. We stumbled upon the remains of the last squad who had gone in with the king, and we discovered a goblin nest. Lulu Nardi warned me about the dangers, so I thought maybe we should save this for later when we were stronger. But as we were about to retreat, a near splitting scream echoed through the dungeon, causing a cave-in. Our way out was blocked just when it seemed random, but the knight captain informs us that the same tactic was used to wipe out the previous rescue team. We were being hunted. As we ran, debris kept collapsing behind us, blocking any chance of retreat. Vernant, one of our knights, who just started to warm up to me, got buried under the rubble. We ran until we reached a dead end. All exits were blocked. Fearing death, I used my powers to rewind the state of the ceiling, undoing the caving just enough for us to go back, but unfortunately Vernant wasn't where we left him. He'd been dragged away. My instincts told me a boss fight was coming, so we headed back to prepare. I enhanced our gear to +2, making them even stronger in preparation for what's coming, but that cost us a lot of gold, so I may have sold off some gear I borrowed from a few anonymous adventurers to cover the expense. Sorry. Moving forward to the 4th floor, Albimo continues his weird behavior. I wondered if we'd pushed our luck going this deep. Enemies were up to level 11, and that's when, yeah, I died. It became clear we needed more experience, so I went back and accepted a few requests from the guild. 2 abominations later, and were given some hefty rewards. Getting greedy, I took in a quest to kill a rabid rabbit. I didn't think much of it at the time, but I would regret that much later. While rescuing an adventurer for that quest, I got ambushed by a cute looking bunny, or maybe not, because this thing was deceptively tough. After beating it, it would escape, only to ambush me again, but with reinforcements. It was here I experienced my first squad wipe. Gerard died and had his fortitude almost depleted, meaning if he died again, he would be gone. And with their flurry of attacks, Ghislaine followed, and then down I went. Truly a formidable foe. I retreated to the city to rest and went back for round 2, but once again it one-shotted me. Yep, dead. Yet I knew that with a quest as difficult as this one, the rewards were bound to be incredible. On my 3rd attempt, I decided a strong offense was our best defense. I threw everything we had at it, even busting out Yekaterina's ultimate for the first time, and it worked. We managed to take it down, but the rabbit escaped yet again. I chased it, determined to finish the job, but it finished me instead. And one strike from an ogre was all it took. This turn, I knew chasing it any further would be meaningless, so I decided to return and report back, and as I thought, even just by retrieving the bodies, I got an additional 1500 gold. Remember that goblin nest Leonardi warned me about? Well, today I thought now that I'd leveled up a bit, it was time to give it another shot, but the moment I stepped in, I got kicked right back out. Those goblins were not playing around. We entered a vast chamber filled with the stench of blood. On the other side, a frenzied scorpion woman stood guard before a door leading to the next floor. She was the first true boss we'd faced, and from the moment the fight started, it felt like we were barely scratching her. One strike took down Ghislaine, then Alice, our healer, in a single hit. Hadn't even seen that happen before, so I was caught completely off guard. With 2 members down, I tried to retreat, but to no avail. In a panic, I revived Alice, hoping she could heal us just long enough to pull through, but it was no use. Nothing was working, and so I died. And all I could think about was the real risk here. With everyone dead, when I respawned, I'd have to revive them at the church, but with their fortitude so low, the odds were against me. They could be lost for good. And just when I thought it was over, I remembered I had one last ember, a second chance of sorts that reverts things to the state before the fight. Usually it just brings us back to try again, and well, probably die, but because this was a boss fight, I was able to escape. Honestly, I'm still haunted by how close that call was. If I hadn't had that ember, it could have been the end of all my progress. It was time to grind. I started by focusing on gear upgrades and made sure everyone had solid bronze equipment. I sacrificed Amira, one of my legendary knights, just to acquire her passive healing ability. It's incredibly powerful. It lets the entire party heal after every fight. With that boost, we grinded monsters on the 5th floor. Along the way, we even found a named sword with wind attributes much stronger than Gerard's old one, a big upgrade. By the time we'd reached level 13, we'd sold enough loot that we scavenged from the dungeons to head back and do some serious upgrades. We kept pushing, battling even tougher monsters until we hit level 14. One request had us fighting a swarm of flying swords, and as a reward, I finally received materials to enhance our equipment to +5. By this point, I was completely broke, with no more anonymous adventurers to cash in on, so I sold everything I had just to get both my sword and Gerard's upgraded. And now, tomorrow will be the day I face that wretched scorpion again, but this time I was better prepared. We spent all of yesterday grinding, preparing for this fight. There was no way I'd leave that dungeon without taking down that monster. This time, I knew her moves. She's got a ton of HP, thick armor, and a weakness to lightning, but her attacks, especially her charged strike, are lethal. I remember how she wiped us last time by targeting Ghislaine and Alice in one hit, but now we'd be ready. We dive in, and right away I use Neon's skill to delay her turn, buying just enough time for Katrina's ultimate to deal huge damage, and for me to get a buff from Alice that increases my action speed. Since I had the most dexterity out of everyone, I use Armor Break, which scales with dexterity. Gerard follows up with Thunder Strike, the perfect counter to her lightning weakness, but one attack misses. Barely phased, she immediately charges her devastating main attack targeting Ghislaine and Alice. Katrina debuffs her speed even further, stalling her incoming attack. Alice braces herself and Gerard steps up with his shield to cover Ghislaine. She strikes, and this time we hold up. We weren't getting one shot anymore, we actually survived. We push forward, unleashing our strongest attacks, and she's still hanging on. At this point I have no idea how much health she had. Was she almost dead, or was she barely feeling it? All I know is we have to keep going and hope for the best. But then a huge problem hits. Would it survive? But Alice is struck with a fear debuff. She's the only one who can cleanse it, and I hadn't packed anything to cure her. That's it, she's out of the fight. We no longer had a healer. This time Gerard's Thunder Strike actually landed and dealt almost 300 damage, but he couldn't use that skill anymore. But that must have affected her. I spent my last bit of SP in a final attack, but she answers right back. Gerard is thrown into the rear, leaving Katrina, our frail mage, at the front. Our situation kept getting worse. Her next attack would spell our demise. Her turn was getting closer, and I only had one choice. It was to attack. So that's what we did. And then one final spell from Katrina connects, and finally the wretched Scorpion falls. We defeated her. Day 7 was all about preparation and progress. I tackled a few quests on the 5th floor, recovering gear, equipping what we needed, and selling off the rest for gold. We also stocked up on calmatives and other essentials for handling debuffs to avoid yesterday's situation. The 6th floor was something else entirely. A strange open sky loomed above, with walls and massive boulders suspended in the air. The enemies were a step up in difficulty. Floating swords and undead skeletons put up a tough fight, and to make matters worse, physical weapons like swords didn't seem to work at all. It was clear we'd need to adapt if we wanted to survive. While exploring, we came across a room with 3 doors, each leading to a different portal. The whole setup fell off, and as we moved closer, I found a corpse nearby with a note in its hand. The message was simple: do not open the east door. It wasn't a risk I was willing to take, with so many unknowns and no clear way to deal with what was ahead. I decided we should go back until we found a way to deal actual damage to the enemies of this floor before heading deeper, so we returned to the city. And with that, my 7-day adventure with this game was over. I had an incredible time this week, exploring the setting and story from the different adventures to the quests. I genuinely enjoyed every part of it. This is not a casual game, this is not a review, but if you're up for a solid challenge, it's definitely worth a try. And that's it. Thank you for watching, until next time.